It's another one of those old Frank Monday productions coming at ya. This morning when I got up and I decided to make a new YouTube video, I was curious as to what topic I should cover today. There were some different things on my mind, but I thought, well, let's get in there and find out which of the tarot trumps, which of the major arcana we have failed to cover. Number 12 major arcana is the Hanged Man. This is the ultimate card of bondage, self-bondage. It's the one-eyed Odin, contemplative in his crucifixion. Something has happened and you done fucked up, and now you gotta think about that shit. There has been the odious encounter of an authoritarian figure. That has caused one to have to fucking take some time off and think about shit. Yet at the same time, it's the great opportunity to have a paradigm shift, to start going about things in a new way. If we look at the Hanged Man on the traditional plate, with him inverted, dangling from the tree, at first glance, this may seem like a dire situation. And don't get me wrong, it's not the greatest position to be in, obviously, but it's self-imposed. The Magi on his journey has hung himself from the tree. The Hangman occupies the path from Hod to Gebura on the Tree of Life. He's directly opposite the Wheel of Fortune, and they counterbalance each other. On the one side, we have a sense of positivity ruled by Jupiter, with the Wheel of Fortune. On this side, we have the Hanged Man coming under the auspices of Mars up from Mercury, and it's more severe. It's still a positive card, in my opinion, but it's the rough side of that positivity on the pillar of severity. Man's technology and its filth that it produces, all the pollution, radioactive and otherwise, all that nastiness, it makes it really hard to push on through in your life sometimes. It's tough stuff. Gebura, ruled by Mars, is connected to man's energy, which is finite. We have limitations as humans, and we have fundamental needs such as food, water, shelter. And yet at the same time, we must channel the divine. The Hanged Man may indicate that you're deceived into believing that you're a victim of the circumstances around you. And, I mean, All of us are to some extent, but you must not adopt the victim mentality. We learn from the three keys of the magical intent that we must be quiet, calm, steady, non-turbulent, and non-muscular in the exertion of the E, the human will. This is Valencia, as described by, was it Franz Barton? Might not be. It's important to note several things about the card, as represented by the Arthur Edward Wyatt, Pamela Smith collaboration. Number one, the hangman is suspended from a living tree, which means that even the fixed situations in life, the circumstances that you find yourself are ever in flux and growing. So it seems pretty stable. The last letter of the Hebrew alphabet, the Tav. But one end gives birth to another beginning. Another thing that you note is that the card is very Spartan in its presentation. Other than the cross and the man hanging from it, there isn't anything going on. He's got on red pants, showing his lower primal desires have been put above the blue shirt, which represents his intellectual, spiritual, philosophical pursuits. So he has inverted himself in order to get the passions under rein. It's a time of stasis, a time of delay. The other thing to note about it is the expression on the man's face. He doesn't look as if he's suffering. It's similar to and reminiscent of the Eight of Swords, where the woman is bound outdoors, but she's surrounded by swords and hardship. I mean, in a dire situation. Here, you're not in a dire situation. There's been a judgment rendered. It's time to change your thinking, and the halo of enlightenment is already about this figure. So this is the transition point right before death, right when you accept the fact that all situations ultimately die. It's not the memento muerte of, or memento morti muerte of the death card, which is it clearly signals, is a clear indicator of change in behavior and the fact that a situation is over completely. This is the stasis before death, the deathbed, so to speak, before being alleviated of the physical shell. One final note about the imagery here, the symbolism, is the way the figure has his legs crossed, forming a figure four, but more of an inverted triangle. And on the one hand, it forms the cross, which is indicative of the cross from which he hangs. So we have a mirroring as above, so below symbology, but also that his hands are behind him, bound, or maybe not. He just might have them behind him himself, forming an upward triangle. So the legs forming a downward triangle and the arms forming an upward triangle. Again, as above, so below, the reflection of the divine in man. Thank you for watching Lunar Light Entertainment. Please leave a comment below.